Welcome, everyone, to the Pockets of Knowledge podcast. I'm your host, Desiree Stanley, and with me today is my special guest, Izabella Ritz. Thank you so much, Izabella, for coming on the show. I am so delighted to have you with us today to share your story. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for inviting and having me today. And it's always nice to see the stories of families. I wanted to go on your husband's podcast for almost a year. And then he finally invited me, I believe, 8 months ago. And I was waiting for 4 months till his spot will be available. And now his wife is hosting me, flattered. So yeah, thank you for having me today.
It is my honor to have you on the show because we've had a number of occasions where we've met, and I'm always so impressed with the success that you've achieved. And you are the CEO of Ritz Momentum. And of course, we're going to dive into that a little bit to learn more about it and what it is that you do. Let's start a little bit with your story and did you always know that you wanted to be an entrepreneur or a businesswoman, or was it something that just sort of developed?
I believe you never know who you want to be. However, just recently I was talking to my husband, Ivan, you met him at the conference retreat. And I asked him, did I ever tell you the story about the crane? He's like, no. I'm like, so when I was 3 years old, I was born in Moscow. I was born in Soviet Union, the country that does not exist anymore. And we had the constructions going on next to our house, next to our apartment building. Like Moscow doesn't have houses like in US. They have these big apartment buildings everywhere. They're just speaking like New York. And I saw this big crane, and I was telling to my mom, when I grew up, I will work on this crane. When I grew up, I was thinking Mom, do you remember this? She's like, yeah, I do. I'm like, that's so ridiculous. And she said, it's actually because you always wanted to be somewhere high. You always wanted to achieve something. That's why you've been looking at this crane. And that's actually kind of nice interpretation. So at this point, did I know that I want to be an entrepreneur? I have no idea. Did I want to go high? Yes, I did. So I didn't know that I want to be an entrepreneur. I just wanted to be somewhere very high.
I love that story. That's adorable. And thank you for sharing that. You have, of course, achieved some really great heights in your business. And I want to talk a little bit about the balance that you have, because right now you're a mother of three. Almost a mother of four. You are expecting another baby very soon, and that's super exciting. And so how do you balance that very hectic work schedule and travel schedule with motherhood? How would you say you've managed to kind of make those things coexist so well?
So first of all, it's a very good question, because a lot of people, they're trying to manage, they're trying to balance it. And when I'm traveling, I see a lot of leaders of our community without their families all the time. Some of them are traveling so much, and I'm sometimes even I'm asking questions. I'm like, guys, how are your spouses reacting? Especially if it's a woman who is traveling and not a man, and you have children. How are you keeping up with your family? Because I see you, you've been at this event, and this event, and you don't see your children. And I just understand that people have priorities. I cannot spend long time without my family. And that's why most of the time I'm bringing my family with me. So if I have a chance, if I can take all of them with me, I am doing that. So that's why you saw me with almost all my family when we've been at the conference, when we're going to the trade shows. I'm trying to take at least most of them. The only child who is usually not traveling with us is my high schooler, who is she's in JROTC program, and she's so committed to go all the way to the end without any absence, without skipping the school. So she's committed to do something that she does. And about the balancing, it's really its priorities. So for me, family is important. I will never sacrifice family over work. I have my Sundays and Saturdays and Friday nights. It's always family. Monday, Thursday, those days are booked for work. However, Monday and Friday are always closed from any meetings unless I have to do them. So that means if we have some family stuff going on, if I have like kids' doctor appointments or whatever, I can do it those days. And Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, it's only work. So here's like kind of couple tips. Of course, we have our period of times when it's like Q4 happening, or like we are doing so many sales or offers or something like that. Then, yeah, we have to like shift a little bit back and forth. But generally speaking, I have these basic rules where I have to be with the family and not with work. And if work is taking more time, I feel so unsatisfied and so unhappy. And I feel this such a big guilt that I cannot feel happy doing something that I love. So that's why I have to like manage this 50-50.
Thank you for sharing that. And I think that it sounds like you've managed to develop a schedule that you really dedicate the time to your family and you dedicate the time to your work. So there's kind of no cross flow necessarily. I mean, periodically, of course, that happens, but it sounds like that schedule that you've created for yourself has really been able to allow you to feel like you're really spending time with your family when you're spending time with your family, right?
Yeah, at least I do my best.
Yeah, of course. So let's now transition then and talk a little bit about Ritz Momentum and how that came to be. What was the inspiration for creating this, and how did you decide that's what you wanted to do?
So Ritz Momentum is not my first company. So my first business was when I was 17, and like that's why I was always doing something. And when I came to United States, I had to start some type of business. I didn't stop doing my business coachings, and I had already my community built by this time. And I launched my first product on Amazon in 2015. And because I had already my community, people started asking, how did you do that? Teach us how to start business on Amazon. Back to 2016, 17, Russia has been allowed to do business on Amazon, not anymore. I was telling people, I'm not going to teach you guys how to do business on Amazon because it's complicated. Anyway, I give up. I started teaching people how to do business on Amazon. And like, as you know, a lot of people are asking, if I will learn from you, what are the guarantees that I will succeed? And you're always answering like, it's no guarantees, because yes, I will give you the instruction, doesn't mean, and if I will give you the recipe of the omelet, it doesn't mean you will use the right eggs, the right veggies, and doesn't mean you will follow all the recipe correctly all the way. So the success rate was about, depends on the class, was about like 20 to 60%, because like you never know who will be your students, you never know how they will be performing, you never know how they will learn. And like 2 days ago, I was recording the podcast with one of my former students, and he was showing me how like right now he crossed 2.8 million in sales for the past year.
Wow.
And that's kind of, nice. Like I feel good about it. I'm really proud of this person. And I wanted the success rate to be higher, because when people are coming to you and you see how many mistakes they're doing, you want to do something instead of them and for them. And like, you know what? It's so hard to explain because Amazon is so technical. It's not like, okay, let's do the cleaning services. Let's hire cleaning ladies. Let's start driving traffic, and now this business is going to work. No, it's actually, you have to follow through so many steps and understand how Amazon algorithm works and what is happening on the background and what is happening at the same time on your front end and supply chain and yada, yada, yada. And this is how in 2019, Ritz Momentum been created. At the same time, I met my future husband, who is my current husband. And I was telling him, I'm like, I started agency, we are doing this stuff. Now I need branding. So, well, how do you think we should name this company? And we've been workshopping. So he was genuinely speaking at this, he showed up in my life at the same time when I created agency. So it's kind of the new chapter, the new book with a lot of chapters. And we've been doing listings, we've been doing copywritings, we've been doing we've been doing a little bit of consulting, and then it's just grew into agency where people are actually coming to us and asking us to do the product research because we became pretty good at it. And again, I would never be good at product research unless I would have the business before, where I would understand how SEO works, what are the keywords, what's demand, what's avatar, how PPC works. So, and because I had all this background in my previous businesses, I was able to implement it into the agency and into my Amazon business. So it's kind of like a lot of puzzles that been sometimes built during my life. At the end of the day, they're all here at Ritz Momentum.
Wow. I love what you said about the ingredients and following the recipe, but that doesn't guarantee success, because it's like the chef has to put their heart, their soul, their energy, their focus into creating whatever it is they're going to be making. And so, sure, you can say this is what you need: eggs, butter, milk, whatever, but is the person going to follow through? And so that is such a fantastic point, is that it really requires us as individuals to be committed to putting in the effort and the time and learning continuously and really following that recipe, but with enthusiasm, right?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. And then also your story about the things that you did before you learned from, and you carried that forward into what you're doing now. And so it's like a stepping stone of growth and development. And so it wasn't like you just suddenly woke up one day and you're like, here, I'm Ritz Momentum, I know everything. It was a learning process, right?
Correct. Yeah, it was a learning process. And when I am thinking, like, what is Ritz Momentum, right? It's the agency with employees. Every single employee is supposed to be qualified. I'm super picky. I'm not hiring people just because they applied or like they can tell me I can do this job. I am handpicking almost every single one. So we're interviewing 40 to 60 people minimum for one position. We're testing those people. Like if it's a designer, they have to create product design, logo design, listing design. If they did everything correctly, sometimes we can tell, okay, so this is the logo designers, this is like graphic designers for packaging, and these designers for products. But we want to have sometimes the universal people, because we want them to do all this stuff. And it's not that hard as long as you have vision. Right. So we're looking for people with vision. And I try to subcontract other companies where they're like, you can delegate design for us at some point if you're overwhelmed. And when we've been doing it a couple times, it was always a disaster because people who are like hiring these freelancers, they don't understand what they're supposed to look for. They're like, yes, if people have skills, like we spoke just now, they can use Photoshop. It doesn't mean they have vision about branding. If they can use some type of the graphic skills and they learned at some online courses how to do that, doesn't mean they understand the market. So, and we care about, and my personal responsibility, fiduciary responsibility for our clients, making sure every single person who is working at Ritz Momentum, we know how every single step works. Because by creating the product, we have to understand who is going to buy it, why people are going to buy the product, why this specific mug or candle or whatever it is should be developed this specific way. We are asking target audience, future target audience, how they want to see this product. And if our employees, such as marketing specialists and designers, will not understand this target audience, we will not be able to develop anything. So that's why all this event of the agency is so important, because we have a lot of layers. Right. Because behind all of these layers is the person who is investing into the business, the person who wants to make money out of the products we develop. So it's not just like, oh, Starbucks new mug, let's sell it on Amazon. No, it's a lot of steps that letting people to succeed in the future.
Wow. I had no idea the level, the like depth that you go into with just even hiring staff for the company. And I love that you said the fiduciary responsibility that you have, because when people come to you looking for your assistance, you're not just out to, make a buck and run away or whatever. You're fully vested into what is happening with your clients. And I think that's fantastic, because you're ensuring their success when you are vetting the people who are going to be working for you to help them. And that's fantastic. I love it.
We have to
Yeah.
because genuinely speaking, right now, the business and any type of the business is about brand story, like branding and storytelling. And if we're creating brands, we have to tell the story about those brands. We have to have our own story. We have to talk about ourselves too, because this is how we committed to make sure you are committed with your products as well. Right. So it's not like, oh, let's create another product that probably this person at some point will launch. So we're trying to make it really priceless, not worthless.
I love it. So let's talk a little bit about if someone were to come to you and say, like, I'm interested in launching an Amazon business. I want to, create my own brand, design products or carry products. What's kind of the steps that they would go through if they were going to be working with you?
So first of all, we're talking about people's goal and budget. And even budget doesn't sound very nice and sweet for everybody, because a lot of people like, I have a desire, I have a dream, I want to launch my brand, and this brand will be so amazing everywhere, people will love it. It's your opportunity to do that. Are you ready to invest into your opportunity? If you are, let's talk, because branding is about lots of investments, starts from the very beginning. We have to analyze the niche. We have to find the product. We have to build the product. We have to analyze the target audience, more than we're asking target audience, how do they want to improve the product that is already on the market? So we can, for example, go on a Pickful, ask the audience, what do you guys think is about these AirPods? And they can tell us what do they think. Or we can ask them, how would you improve these AirPods? And people will tell us how they want to improve these AirPods, right? So, and at this point, we already have a list how we want to improve the AirPods. And then we are creating, by creating this list, we're talking to the supplier, asking, okay, so listen, we want to improve those things, how much it's going to cost us. Of course, because we already have experience, we kind of understand the numbers, but we still have to ask, especially if we're adding something complicated. So for example, maybe it will be the different port or something that is not on the market yet. So then we have to create something more complicated. And if it's possible on the side of the supplier, then we're moving forward and we're working with a design team. So at this point, we're thinking how we're going to design and build the product. We're building the product, then we're going to Pickful again, and we're asking, what do you guys think? And people are answering us, saying we like or we dislike. Then we're asking, okay, look, this is our design, this is competitor design. What do you think? And if competitor is winning, then we're looking what we're supposed to improve. So we're improving the product, making sure it's working, making sure it's better. So then we're testing again till we will be in a range at least 70-30 on our favor, or the best case scenario, if it will be 90-10, of course. This idea we're chasing. And and at the end, then the files are done, the product is ready, audience approved, number approved. We're just starting working on the sample. Waiting for the sample week to 2 weeks, and then we're ready for production, and then we're launching it on Amazon.
Wow. It's interesting that you brought up PickFu, and that's a service that, kind of helps with A/B testing. And it's actually what I use to help me determine what was the best name for my podcast. And as you said, they'll tell you yes or no, I like it or don't like it, when you give them certain parameters. And that's what I did. I said, here's the concept of my podcast. Here's the 2 titles. What makes the most sense? And I loved the feedback that I got. And so that is such a great way to get that audience, telling you, yes, I love it. No, I don't like it. Here's how you can make it better. And I think that's fantastic that you're using that service, within the process that you're taking for your clients to help make sure that they're going to be launching a product that's going to be successful. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, without PickFu right now, unfortunately, you can't survive. There are some copycats. I know somebody is using copycats. I don't remember their names, but when I was talking to Justin from PickFu, I'm like, Justin, what is it about? Why they're so much cheaper than PickFu? He said, Bella, they're not cheaper. They're just charging monthly subscription. But then when you are running the actual poll, you have to pay for the poll on top of the subscription. And like you think it's cheaper by paying the membership, but it's actually not. And I was looking at that, I'm like, yeah, PickFu are the best. And like they're progressing so much. They're releasing so many extra tools. They just released recently UK, Canada, Australia, and I believe something else, because Amazon has so many marketplaces, and every single marketplace is really different from another. And when clients are coming to us and they're saying, I want to launch this product on Amazon India, we have to analyze like if it's actually a good fit, because the mentality of people in India and United States is absolutely different.
Right.
Like you can't sell beer oil in Japan, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like you can't sell like virtual anime stuff in United States if people are not getting married here virtually, like in Japan. So it's like, and vice versa. You have a lot of different approaches when you are going on a market in a specific country. And because PickFu created, they're on a way, I believe, to create the audience in every single marketplace. But it's so helpful when you're launching something in UK, like we do right now for one of our clients. We are testing the audience in UK. It takes a little bit longer. The poll is not 10 minutes, it's about an hour. But we have those golden feedbacks. Yes. And we understand what we're doing for marketplace in UK. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's brilliant. You're absolutely right. You can't market a product that would sell, top #1 product in the US to India, if it doesn't interest that market. I mean, you've got to be sure that you're targeting the audience. And so that's fantastic that's one of the criteria you guys are fully vetting to make sure that it's going to be successful in that marketplace. That's excellent.
Thank you.
I want to talk a little bit about something that you have shared that's sort of a favorite quote of yours, and it's that you really find joy in helping fellow entrepreneurs to be successful. And so I want you to just share a little bit about how you came to have that be something that's so meaningful to you, and share that with the listeners, like why that's so important to you.
It's important because honestly, everything's super easy. I was born as a Leo. A lot of people are skeptical for astrology. I was skeptical too. I'm still skeptical. However, Leos, they love to be praised. They love to be thanked, and they love when people are saying, oh, you did such a good job, yada, yada, yada. So I think I didn't get enough of this praise when I was a child. And the moment I got it first time, when I was teaching other parents, kids, French and English, I don't speak French at all anymore. Like I really forgot this language. When I hear people speaking French, I'm like, those words are familiar, but I don't remember anything, because like when you're out of practice, when you're not practicing the language, you're forgetting it. Anyway, and when I've been thanked for like, oh, our kids their grades went up, thank you so much. And then I had another business and people been thanking for the results, I realized that it is so great when you're doing something, when people then recommending you, they're saying how good job you did. And especially when you're helping people to make money, because the money is the opportunity. Of course, we have clients who are not succeeding like everybody. Like it's always the rate of success and not success stories. But when you have this success rate and when you have these people who are like, I wanted to launch, I launched and now I'm making money and now I'm growing, and great if they're exiting the business, you feel yourself great. So it's kind of selfish. It's something that is feeding us. And if you will look into our psychology, you will find out, maybe you already did, like the listeners, everything we do, we're doing it for ourselves. And if we're doing something and we're saying, I gave my life for this person, I made so many efforts to make him feel good or her feel good, it is absolute false. Because the reality, every single action we're doing because of ourselves, because it's making us feel better. So given the reality of how the psychology works and all these layers, and when I was learning it pretty deep, and I realized that it's actual pure truth. So you can lie to anybody as much as you want, but the pure truth, you are doing everything because of yourself, because you want to feel good. So I want to feel good.
Absolutely. No, I think that's a great point, is that when we are helping others, it brings meaning and joy and happiness to us. And so ultimately, we are doing it for our own benefit, right? Of course, those others are benefiting as well, but ultimately it is for our benefit and our happiness as well. And that's a fantastic point. Maybe the altruism isn't so much the case, helping others really helps ourselves. And I think that ultimately, when we are, bringing joy to others, helping others to be successful, it gives us a pleasure and a happiness that carries through. And I think that's so true. Well, Izabella, before we wrap up our conversation, I would love to ask you, and for those who will be watching on YouTube, you'll see rows and rows of books behind Izabella.
We have a
oh
lot.
My goodness. Yes.
And a lot.
Oh my goodness. Lots of books. So would you suggest a couple of books that you think have been beneficial to you or inspirational to you that would be helpful for the listeners to maybe check out?
So, of course, it depends where you are and what are you looking for. I love Maxwell. He's somewhere here. Give me a second. Oh my gosh. I just saw him right here. Yeah, I can see him right here. So where it is? So John Maxwell, he's like, this book is about challenges. It's right here. But when I'm turning my head, I don't see it yet. This one. You can read this one, Change Your World. That's pretty good one. It's a lot of conversation in between Maxwell and Hoskins. They're going back and forth, like what did they found for each other, and how it's better to achieve the goals and start a new challenge, and yada yada yada. I like TED Talks, just because I love to speak, and I am looking forward into something like speak better from the stage. But the majority of knowledge and inspiration I'm picking up when I am when I'm listening for the podcasts, when I'm driving somewhere and listening to another podcast, from my colleagues, from all these networkings, because every single book that been created, it's based on yesterday. When you're going to the networkings, when you're going to the conferences today. So, and you will never learn better than you're learning something from today's and not from the past. So yes, this basic stuff is great. Those people who are giving us a lot of philosophy and a lot of inspiration, and they achieved something, they're amazing. Brian Tracy, love him so much. However, my personal approach is to learn something from today.
Oh, that's excellent. You know, you brought up a good point, and that's we can learn everywhere and anywhere. And as you said, you're learning from colleagues at different events. So not just from the books, which of course is important, but like you said, learning from today and what is happening in your marketplace today or in your field of business today. That's so, so important because that's going to be what springboards to the future, right?
Yep, that's correct. We have today. We don't have past. We don't have future. We have today and now. That's it.
Yeah, great point. You mentioned listening to podcasts as you're driving. So would you suggest a couple that the listeners could check out?
Sure. If you're in Amazon space, AM/PM podcast is amazing. It's been founded by Code. Then Tim Jordan took over. Now Kevin King is running it. I love to listen. Andrew Morgan's podcast is amazing. Joa launched her podcast recently. Joa Roberts, you heard her. Well, of course, Pockets of Knowledge now is a new podcast for like great inspiration. I recommend to just go through like the leaders on the market. Bradley Sutton, of course, I don't know how many of his podcasts I was listening. Again, Maxwell, Brian Tracy, like all these people, they're always sharing something new. Just subscribe and then you'll be able to see the recommendations. Just make sure you're not choosing the episode like that it's just the last one or the previous one. The episode's supposed to match something that you're looking for, because sometimes guests are boring, sometimes the content is not really necessary for you. So make sure you're not wasting your time just because you turned it on.
Great point. Yeah, thank you. And, you know, I actually had Joey Roberts on the episode two back, and she was just fantastic. I love her story. And when we talked about her new podcast, Fearless Sellers. And so that is, of course, a great one that I recommended. But I love those. And I will, of course, share them in the show notes so others can take a look at those, as well as the book recommendations. Thank you for sharing those, Izabella. That's excellent. And just finally, to like wrap up the show, can you tell us if there are questions that people have or they're interested in learning more about Ritz Momentum, how would they connect with you so that they could pose those questions to you?
Easy and simple, just LinkedIn, Izabella Ritz, or our website, ritzarm.com. Ritz like my last name, RITZ, famous cracker, or Ritz Carlton, whatever you want. And then arm is a hand, all together. .com, yeah, ritzarm.com, and Izabella Ritz on LinkedIn. Or Instagram, Arm Agency. So I'm posting sometimes very funny reels that you can learn from too within 1 minute.
I love it. Well, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And thank you again for being my guest on the show, Izabella. It's been such a pleasure. I love hearing your story, and the knowledge and the information that you have to share is so wonderful. And I appreciate your time and sharing it with the listeners today. Thank you again.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm looking forward for more.
Awesome. Well, we'll talk soon.
Talk to you soon.